Right, distinguished committee members. My name is James Simonelli. I'm Executive Director of the California Metals Coalition. I also have the honor to serve as co-chair of the Water Coalition. And for this part of the discussion, I'd like to focus on the industrial permit because that is what impacts our members and the members of the Water Coalition. The Water Coalition is one of the most diverse coalitions here in Sacramento. We've got business, over 100 trade associations, representing 20,000 businesses. We have a workforce, labor, over 1.5 million workers, and many of which are from organized labor. Government, you've got local cities and counties that directly and indirectly are impacted by the industrial permit. And the one thing that I haven't heard during all of this discussion is schools. Schools are regulated by the industrial permit, and part of our water coalition, we have nearly 500 school districts encompassing 92% of California's children. So when we talk about stormwater and we talk about quote-unquote industrial, we're talking about a very, very diverse, very broad, everything from a small moms and pop shop to the place where our children go to school. The Water Coalition really has a simple goal. We do support the efforts to improve water quality and take reasonable and measured steps towards this goal. And we have a track record because this permit change that we're talking about has been a regulation for 20 years. You have 20 years of investment. You have 20 years of data sampling. You have 20 years of people going out in the rain and collecting rainwater and sending it to labs. I can also confirm, contrary to the slides that we saw this morning, that the stormwater runoff from our industrial facilities do not include things like beach balls and lawn chairs and large bags of trash. Essentially, you're talking about a very thin flow of water that comes off of a site, and that is what is sampled and captured. A lot of our biggest challenges as far as the Water Coalition have been pointed out. The issues of cost, the issue of what is the net impact of jobs, not just what we think are created or what we expect to gain, but what's the net impact of jobs? What is, for this type of permit, based on the benchmarks or the previously proposed limits, is there an establishment to fail? I'll give some examples later of specific facilities and what the impact truly is of stormwater and their sampling, but in many ways we are setting up our community to fail. So essentially, the Water Coalition has some basic goals. We have some issues that are going. But I think what's really brought us all together today is the process that's led us up to this. We're talking about a permit that is 14 years overdue. We're talking about a permit that has had 14 years of discussion. And I'm reminded by, in my freshman year in college, a professor that put on the front of his door, around it by duct tape, that says, "A lack of planning on your part does not constitute an emergency on my part." And when I look at what's happened in the last 6 to 8 months, there has been a rush, even though we've had 14 years to do this, a rush to put out a permit, a rush to review this permit, a rush to push everybody to get their comments in 1 and 2 minutes in, and it's created essentially why we're all here today. And you know, I'll quote one of the things that we received as the business community during this process. It was at the bottom of a email from the State Water Board. It says, "Please be advised that State Water Board staff may not discuss the proposed revisions until the new draft is published." And this was in July. And so we were directly told we can't talk to staff. We know what happens with ex parte. We can't talk to the board. We can't talk to the executive officers. There's a void of communication. And in a business, an economy that's as unstable as it is, that uncertainty is what I think you're seeing brewing here. So I wanted to point out those things because it's essential to this larger water representing 250,000 employees. And those employees that we employ, 8 out of 10 of those employees are considered ethnic minorities. 8 out of 10 are considered to be in communities of concern. These are living wages, health benefits to communities that really need these jobs. And so some specifics about the impact of this draft and the impact of stormwater. Based on the draft of our facilities, we looked at in the first year between $10,000 and $12,000 impact per company, which translates into between $48 million and $72 million per year in costs. And for manufacturers, stormwater for us is a non-revenue generating source of activity. And when you look at those dollars that would go towards that, you're talking about money that doesn't go towards investing or towards hiring people. Even more specific, one of the benchmarks that our industry has to measure is zinc. And zinc is a constituent that's, a constituent that's measured in the stormwater. Less than 1% of our industry processes zinc, yet over 50% of our industry cannot pass the benchmark for zinc. And the reason because of that is because we have metal roofs, we have metal gutters, we have cars that drive on our property and drive off of our property. And so we have facilities that they could shut down for 3 weeks, 4 weeks that can't pass the benchmarks and hence proposed as limits at one point that are proposed. And so you have the cost of exceeding those limits, which for the second year for our industry would be somewhere around $150 to $200 million. And then by the third year, once you get into engineering controls, just to capture the gutter rain that's coming off, you're talking about $250 million just for our industry based on what you saw as a draft permit. So I think as you look at individual sites and individual companies, both in the small and macro sense, you throw in schools, you throw in cities, you throw in Caltrans, you have a significant portion of the state of California, I would argue representative of every legislator in California, that's impacted by this issue of when it rains, somebody has to scoop it up. And I think, you know, the further we can analyze and look into these things, the better. So going from here, I think a few things have come out that I'd like to suggest. One is to fix the ex parte. We need to talk to that water board, and I think that can be a legislative fix. I think that we need to look into the cost-benefit analysis, because this issue of not doing it at all because it's quote-unquote a permit, when we all know at the end of the day this is essentially a new regulation change, is something that needs to be addressed and could be addressed legislatively. And at the end of the day, I think we need to continue, because again, a 14-year span of waiting for a new permit, when essentially the state and the state water board, they are not under a federal mandate to adopt something different that's in place right now. They are mandated to review and to look at it again, but not mandated to do what they're proposing. And so I think reining back in all of these things, and reining with the REIGN, or REIN, you know, should be the focus of everything. So on behalf of the Water Coalition and the California Metals Coalition, we thank you for holding this. It's significantly important for jobs and everything that we're focusing on. I'll obviously be around for questions, but Dorothy is also here as well to give some comments. So thank you.